Hi there, it's Jim Dodson. I'm a personal injury and bicycle accident lawyer in Clearwater. Most people know me as the Florida Bike Guy. I want to talk to you this morning about how safe is your helmet. A helmet is probably one of the most important pieces of equipment we wear when we ride, whether we're a casual rider or really the ultra elite rider. And just step back and understand something about helmet design. In the 80s, the Consumer Product Safety Commission designed the criteria for bike helmet. And really they were designed to protect the head from one directional forces. You know, they dropped a weighted object on the helmet. It was designed to prevent skull fractures. And they do a good job of doing that. They have an EPS foam liner in the helmet. It's got a plastic shell on the outside. And from one directional impact, the helmet will generally protect from a skull fracture. But over the course of time, we have come to realize that most bicycle impacts don't occur from one direction. It is a side impact. It's the glancing blow as the cyclist hits an object or hits the ground. And over 20 years ago, good folks over in Sweden began developing what is known now as the multi-directional impact protection system, MIPS. This has been studied and applied throughout the industry for more than 20 years. A lot of the manufacturers have gone to MIPS, brought the technology into their own factories, and adapted it to their own helmet design. There's some interesting videos online. Giro has a great video explaining how the MIP helmet works. And I think you'll learn a lot if you go look at it. So I want to just use, this is actually my helmet. This is a MIPS helmet. And let me show you what is essentially the operational component of the helmet. So if you look inside the helmet, rather than just your head sitting on the EPS foam liner, you see that your skull comes in contact with this plastic inner lining. Looks pretty simple. This is designed so that on an impact, this lining will move between 10 and 15 millimeters. And the research tends to show that that movement is enough to give the brain an extra advantage so that it doesn't stop so abruptly, and it minimizes the impact of the forces of rotation that cause concussions. So this liner, you can actually slide it within the helmet a little bit. Mine through Giro is black. Some of them are all yellow and they show up a little better on video. But this is the system for how a MIPS helmet works. And it's, in my view, it's the only technology that I'm aware of commercially available to give us as cyclists an added advantage, you know, when the unexpected happens and we fall and hit the ground. I think that there's some debate about people whether they want to get the MIPS technology. In my view, it's looking at it this way. We had seat belts in cars. They were a lap belt, but we know that a shoulder harness works a heck of a lot better. Your basic helmet is your lap belt. The MIPS helmet is your shoulder harness. I think my view for cyclists is you always want that extra edge of protection. And that's what this MIP technology does do. When you go into a store, when these first came out, I had a hard time even finding one. I ordered my first one from POC in England maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Now they're generally available. And when you see on the back of the helmet this little sticker that says MIPS, that's what you're looking for. And then you turn over and see. When I first, these helmets were available through REI years ago, when I was in San Francisco visiting my daughter once. I actually went to REI. They didn't have it on display. I had to ask for it, and they brought it out and they had a whole selection of MIPS helmets. Today, they're pretty much mainstream. Specialized, Bontrager, you know, Trek, they all have MIPS technology in certain helmet lines. So I also want to give a shout out to Tracy, who's joining us today. Thank you, Tracy. We had a question that was actually sent in by Jerry. He wanted to know, what does the industry recommend for life expectancy of a helmet? Which is a great question. which reminds me that if you have a question, send it to me. If you don't catch this while we're live and you want to do this after we're watching this on a replay later, just send the question to us by email and we'll be happy to get it. If you're doing it while we're watching this program, I'll answer it for you. So what does the industry recommend for helmet replacement? I actually did not know the answer to that question. There's a great post by a guy named John Woodhouse, who's a British rider involved in the biking industry. And he went to Giro, Bell, and Bontrager and asked them, their product design people for helmet technology, what they recommended for replacing a bike helmet. The general recognition was about 3 years. There's another industry recommendation for 5 years. And all of them essentially saying the same thing, that these helmets, as you and I know, sometimes they fall off your bike when you stop at a rest area, or you drop it, or there's all kinds of little impacts going on that affect the helmet that don't damage the integrity of it. All of the oils in our hair, sunscreen, perspiration, all those things, they talk about ultimately affecting the composition of this EPS liner. And it can become compromised in its ability to compress. He mentioned in his article someone seeing a guy riding with a 10-year-old bike helmet. It was obviously, much used, and how the writer of this article was just cringing for the other guy not realizing he's riding with a helmet that probably won't do what he hopes it will do for the reason he bought it. So Jerry, what they're telling me is about 3 years. Other people have said 5 years. I think 3 years is a good general time to think about replacing your helmet. I'm going to do a separate program on what you need to spend to get a helmet. I think that what I'd like to do is encourage you to look at your own helmet and think about what you can do, what we can do to increase the odds of protection for us when we're riding. And I would urge you to look at the MIPS technology, because in my practice, one of the most common medical problems suffered by any cyclist in a crash is concussion. Almost every cyclist that calls our office has had a concussion of some degree. Some of them are just a few moments of being dazed. I've had people get knocked out cold in a relatively simple accident. So anything that we can do as riders, as cyclists, to kind of minimize the impact of the chances of having a concussion is huge, in my opinion. The data for concussions today is very alarming. It doesn't take more than one, especially two, concussion impacts, to increase the probabilities of significant brain disruption, cognitive function, Alzheimer's, dementia. All these things become a higher and higher probability as we have multiple concussions over the course of time. We're seeing it in the football industry. So I don't want to alarm everybody, but I tell you that as in our current research on brain injuries in our practice, we're not using studies that are prior to 2017. These studies are coming out so quickly. I just had one from January this year that was amazing in terms of what they're finding for brain injuries. All that being said, we need to take seriously the implications of having a concussion in a crash. MIPS gives you an edge. I highly recommend that you use it. I've got a resource for you, this Cycling Essentials. It will give you the basic information about MIPS technology. We'll make it available at bit.ly/bike helmet info. And I want to thank everybody for joining me today. If I can help you in any way, let me know. I'm Jim Dodson, your Florida Bike Guy. We'll talk next time. Be safe out there.